One of the exercises we recommend quite early on, at around 3 to 4 weeks, is a very simple seated heel raise. Now, it is absolutely essential at this stage that you don't put the heel down to the floor, because that will stretch the tendon, it will potentially lengthen it, and it will ensure that your recovery unfortunately takes a lot longer. But what you can do is you can just go from this position into a fully plantar flexed position, and we're just using the block of wood to ensure that we don't go into dorsiflexion, which is where we stretch the Achilles. When you carry out the exercise, you will feel the soleus muscle working here. It's important not to grip your toes, so keep them nice and relaxed, and push through into the ball of the foot. And most people will be able to do this, and it's a great way of getting some early activation of particularly the soleus and the calf complex. You can make it slightly harder by putting a very light weight on your knee, or the patient can just push against with their hand to add a little bit of weight going through the shin. We normally recommend around 3 sets of 12 to 15 of these, but obviously build it up nice and slowly, and it must be pain-free. To progress the exercise, first of all, this must be done with the supervision of a physiotherapist. But if we keep the heel up, because remember we don't want to stretch it, we can actually progress it as we get around to that 7 to 8 week mark, using the heel raises. Again, the seated heel raise, but actually just having something slightly less thick, which means that we're increasing the range of movement through which we're moving. It's very important, even in the early stages, to strengthen the foot and the toes. So we're going to give you a few simple exercises. The first one is what we call piano toes. So starting either at the big toe or the little toe, you can try and lift up and place down one toe at a time. It's quite difficult, but certainly it's a very useful exercise to activate those toes, which obviously are spending a lot of time in the boot at this stage. So that's a really useful first exercise. The second exercise that we're going to carry out, and this is why we've got the paper towel, is just to try and bring the paper towel towards you by flexing your toes. Nice and slowly, don't rush it, otherwise you won't be using the right muscles, but nice and slowly, and that will help to strengthen some of the internal muscles, the small muscles within the foot. It's important with this one not just to pull it back really quickly, because that won't focus on the muscles that we want it to. And then the third exercise, and we can see this here with the left foot, is we just want to try and produce an arch. So we're going to strengthen the tendons and the muscles on the inside of the foot, just to lift up the arch a little bit. And that's really important as well at this stage. The next exercise, it's very important to use a nice light band. So this is a yellow band, and that is the lightest resistance that you can get. Now remember, at this early stage, we need to make sure the foot stays plantar flexed. Okay, we must not, and I'm doing it on our model here because she hasn't injured her Achilles, we must not go into a stretched position or dorsiflex position. So keeping the legs straight in this position is really important, and obviously you've got to be careful coming in and out of the boot. Now if we use a nice light band, we can bring the other foot next to it. We're just going to place it around the forefoot, moving the left foot out, just a bit of tension onto that band. Keeping that plantar flexed position, we're just going to move the foot out, keeping this shin nice and still and nice and slowly, making sure we're not using the toes too much. We're going to go from what we call an inverted position, and we're going to use the everters to go into an everted position. We can also then bring the left foot over the right, keeping this foot in plantar flexion still, and then keeping this shin nice and still, we can then go from an everted position all the way over here into inversion like that. Normally we do around 2 to 3 sets of 10 of these exercises.